gonna be the odd man out tonight.
Oh, did you not read it?
Oh no, I read it. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. As you can tell, everybody is really, really excited about this one. For those of you who've never read it or read it for the first time, I envy you. I have read this. This is literally like the sixth time I've gone through this particular volume of the Elric saga. Oh my God.
It's so good.
Yes.
I would like to start off. I would like to start off before anything.
Here, Justin.
The most important quote from this book, I feel, is this one. And now Elric had told 3 lies. The first concerned his cousin Irkun. The second concerned the Black Sword. The third concerned Cimmeril. And upon these 3 lies was Elric's destiny to be built. For it is only about things which concern us most profoundly that we lie clearly and with profound conviction. That, in a nutshell, exemplifies everything Elric is. Discuss.
Yes, absolutely. Well put.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Justin, welcome to the show.
So good.
You missed it. I was literally, I 30 seconds before the show, I got to the last line. Man, what a dark ass book, right?
It's so good. And I love it because if you know OD&D at all, you know for a fact that elves in OD&D are chaotic and neutral because of Elric. The only reason why they are neutral is because of Elric. The rest of them would be chaotic. They'd all be demon worshippers and elemental worshippers. All of them. Every single one of them.
Yep.
Ironically, they're probably worse than the orcs.
The elves is right there in Elric.
I know, right?
Oh yeah. Like seriously, I could legit see that's why. Like you could actually make a world in D&D where the Young Kingdoms are the orcs, vying for control over Melnibonea, but they're kind of like a Mongolian force where they get all this gunpowder and tech and just start attacking the Melnibonean with their magic. That'd be so cool.
Yeah, but that seems like it might involve good writing.
That is true.
And you said D&D, so...
Oh.
I'm talking about OD&D in my own world building, dude. I'm not...
Justin woke up and chose violence? Again.
Well, he's a filthy GURPS player, so, you know,
I don't play
he's
GURPS.
probably mentally deficient.
I've never played GURPS.
I mean, there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit.
I've never once played GURPS.
In that book. I mean, chaos, order.
Yeah.
What's up, Derek? Welcome to the show.
Hey, man.
The whole just do what makes you.
Hey, what's up,
good.
George? Soy orc.
Yeah. Like the thing that I realize about like the Melniboneans is just how repugnantly evil they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like they like to say that they don't do anything for good or evil, but they are just evil.
Yeah. Well, they're a culture based on might.
Well, it's excess, really. It's entropic freedom and excess. They're basically Slaneshi cultists. Because, like, they literally have entire choruses with humans that are surgically and magically, bred to sing one note in a choir, and that's it. That's literally the old...
Yeah, I picture that, like, imagine a giant pipe organ, but instead of pipes, it's like a tied up human, you know?
Yeah.
And every time you hit...
Well, there's that line, and the slaves screamed from the towers.
Oh yeah, where the spies are with the barbarians. Oh yeah, that was dark.
during the festival.
Oh yeah, but yeah, even the spies, what they were doing to the barbarians and like torturing like this kid, that was so dark. And like Elric is trying to like. I do like the fact that he's trying morality, but he thinks he's not Melnibonea, and yet he doesn't bat an eye at any of the things that the Melniboneans are doing to foreigners. Like, it doesn't click with any of them that the reason why young kingdoms are doing this is because the Melniboneans are psychopathic tyrants.
Yes.
Yes. It is cool that they ride dragons, like which is where the Valerians came from. Not even a joke. The Valerians from Game of Thrones are based off of them.
I could see it.
No, I mean literally, like because Martin and Moorcock are friends. They even inserted a Stormbringer reference in the show. So I would be completely believe if Martin just said, "Yeah, no, I just ripped off the Melniboneans."
I never read anything by Martin, so I have no idea. But take your word for it. It sounds highly feasible.
I already read the first couple of books in the series.
It's it's when Joffrey is married and he's got his new sword. One of the people in the crowd goes, "Stormbringer!" when he's asking what to name it. So it's like,
Okay. Easter egg.
Oh yeah,
Easter
absolutely.
eggs are for gays.
Yeah, absolutely Easter egg there.
Oh my god. Easter eggs are cool. I'm sorry, I think they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're weak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
then half the fiction.
They're an isolationist culture, though. I mean, they're like they're slaves, but so they talk about how they're actually lost knowledge.
They're what?
They've actually lost knowledge.
Oh yeah, they have.
Over the 10,000 years they've existed.
Yeah, because they're so powerful
and decadent,
pure, and just doing whatever they want to feel good.
You do know they've been around for 10,000 years. They're for more than that. They were in their height for 10,000 years, and it's been 500 since they've fallen. So it's been at least 1,500 years.
Yeah, well, it's probably longer because like their people probably existed long before that as like tribals,
Yeah.
But what I find is it like you even know that how far they followed? They can't even make like the golden barges that like Elric, the ship that Elric used in the battle against the barbarians.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't even know how to make those anymore. They can maintain them, but they can't make them.
Well, is it that they can't make them, or that they have had no need to make them? Because...
No, they can't make them. They don't know how to anymore.
Well, no, they can't make them. It's both. They literally can't make them because they forgot because there was no need to make them anymore.
They literally said that they can't make them anymore.
I don't remember that in this book.
Which is kind of, ridiculous. I mean, how bad are they? How do they maintain everything else?
Well, they're a decaying. They're a decaying society. So they're a society that got to the height of their power, and then it's like, cool.
We have nowhere to go.
We're masters of the universe.
We have nowhere to go but down, and now they're going down. It's like when Cimmeril and Elric are running away to get away from it all for the day. They as they're talking about all these different plants that when they were at the height of their power they would use for their potions and magics, they literally don't even bother to pick them themselves. They just send the slaves out to pick for their drugs, and that's it for their dreamings. That's why the city is called the Dreaming City.
Yeah. So they spend all their time stoned.
Pretty much, or doing the not so nice things to other people in the bedchamber.
Stone.
Well, I mean, no. Literally, when the festival happens, they literally said that the men would go around and spread their seed on the women because it would up the population. They literally just go around in gangs, debauching women at will, and it's just like this is such a monumentally fucked society.
Right.
It's unbelievably evil.
It doesn't say they aren't consenting.
Oh, sure, totally, yeah. And the drow,
Hey,
when
Omen, I
they
sent you the link if you want to jump in. You know, hey, Omen, you know, you're more than welcome to join us if you read the book, which I know you have. The link's in Discord. TCG, what did you think? You've been kind of quiet.
This is where I'm the odd man out. This book held absolutely no interest for me.
No,
I forced myself to listen to the entire first book, and I'm like,
wow.
It just held no interest for me.
TCG, you're not the odd man out.
Oh, okay.
I was
Nine Princes in Amber. First half an hour of that did not interest me. As soon as I got like 31 minutes in, I was instantly hooked. This one, throughout the whole book, I'm like, I could see why people call this a good book. Nothing in it is grabbing me.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, what would have made it better for you guys? What do you think?
There were parts of the writing that were kind of bland and repetitive, especially near the beginning. There were word choices that could have been better, especially like there are a lot of modern terminologies that are blanket for spiritual entities that would not be used in such a setting, like supernatural beings.
Mm-hmm.
When Elric is summoning he says supernatural beings instead of spirits or demons, or naming some sort of entity that's
or the lords of the lower hells or whatever, you know.
Yeah, instead of naming them, he just uses a blanket euphemistic term from modern day.
Which is souls for my Lord Ariok.
Yeah, like it should be like there are terms that are used in it's common in this time period of writing.
The new age.
That
the new wave.
Yeah, that the writer will write through something and not think about the use cases of the word. But you know,
I will also say the one thing when I first read this, and I still hold true to this, that Elric is such a monumental idiot. Just kill Irkum and have fucking done with it.
This is true. He is
That's
kind
part
of
of the
stupid.
reason why I wasn't that interested. Was right there at the beginning when Yakun just fucking blurted out what he did, and Prince is just like, "Yeah, I'm not even gonna backtalk that shit." Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Conan when he was
indoor roast, bro. We can all
hear when Conan was a king in Phoenix on the Sword, like he wasn't good at intrigue, and that's why he didn't attack his enemies, because he just had so many of them. But when he had an enemy he could fight, he fought to the death. Like he actually nutted up. But Elric, like Irkum kills him, debauches his beloved, ransacks his city, and nearly causes a civil war, and still will not kill him.
Yeah. Very odd.
It's not odd. It's cowardice. Like it's just
You're right, but I think Moorcock was really, really heavy-handedly trying to drive home that
war bad, okay?
That he was, somehow, a moral, upright, upstanding individual.
Well, how about
the
this?
philosophy. See, this is what happens when you stick your head in too many of the wrong books.
Well, it's pacifism. It's viewing that pacifism is the way to true enlightenment, and it's like no, it really isn't.
It's that he was trying to be a moral person without understanding what
morality
the words meant. So he was being he was like the psychopath that pretends he likes you and does all the things he thinks liking you means without actually understanding.
Cartman wearing a nice sweater.
Yeah. I don't think it was intentional, Omen. He's saying that Elric was a weak king and it was intentional. I don't think Moorcock was intending to demonstrate that Elric was a weak king. I think Moorcock genuinely believed in what Elric was talking about. Like he doesn't portray the act of pacifism or non-punishment as bad in and of itself. because it takes quite a while for any of the ramifications to really start affecting Elric. It's not until
What about Elric being a parody of Conan?
No. You got to remember when Elric decides to punish his cousin. He does so in the way that is the most worst thing. Melnibonea.
Forcing him to eat his own guardsmen. Yeah.
No, not that. That's a common thing in their society. The exiling to the outer lands.
Right.
Young kingdoms.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't. He actually was resistant to that. That was what Cimmeral told him to do.
No.
She literally said, "Why not?"
I just finished that like an hour and a half ago.
So did I, and she literally said, "Why not exile him?" And then he says, "Is that not death to a Melnibonean?"
That was said earlier in the book, when he finally decides to do it after coming back from the water. He's the one that suggests it, no one else. And that thing earlier, like 2 hours earlier in the book by the audiobook, that's only to set up it's like the Chekhov's gun. You know, you set something up so people know what the fuck's going on.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
Okay. Like I could really see him going back and adding that in earlier, just so it doesn't seem like. And then this happened, which is something you do in writing.
Right. Okay. All right. So nobody thinks he's a parody character. Is he the doomed hero character?
Yes.
Yeah.
In the very beginning, Markov talks about how this is a tragedy. Before you read this, this is going to be a tragic story. Therefore, there's a whole lot of pre-destiny involved.
Yeah, I think it also says by like hour 4, book it said, and now there was no. I'm paraphrasing. And now there was no turning back, and Elric's fate was now fixed. As surely as the swords were fixed so many eons ago. Was there a point where he could come off this path, where he could choose another way? And now, like the champion, the forced champion of some unknown cause, or it's something to that effect. I couldn't find the exact quote, but yeah, I said like Elric by the end of the story is destined to, from what my friend who really loves Elric above others says, is that he is destined to destroy chaos and magic and seed and create a world ruled by the lords of law for the sake of the balance, or something to that effect. But yeah, he must die by the end of it.
You got it kind of wrong. Clearly, he hasn't finished the last book.
Omanal
no
says
spoilers.
Elric representation of the entire race, weak and sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say
that's,
that, man.
Yeah.
I agree with
they are powerful. They are powerful, but they are also weak. Those two things are not antonyms. You can be both.
So he is physically weak for sure.
Oh yeah.
But is he mentally strong?
I think he's here to join us.
He's spiritually weak. They all are.
Right.
All right, Omen, get your ass in here.
Like his cousin's physically strong.
Oh
well, here's part of it. Is that we're only looking at the one book. I've gone through at least 2 of the anthologies that they have out of the 3 of them. And,
right.
When you start when you start looking at it, is he doesn't really want to be king. He's like, I'll just give it away. That's one. It isn't until his cousin takes over that he goes in that full revenge. And then when he loses his love, then he goes in this kind of spiral of self-destruction, at which point he really doesn't care about the idea of good and evil in certain cases. He's kind of your classic anti-hero and a true anti-hero realistic sort. Yeah, that's what it is. Does he represent anything else? No. What makes him different is because he kind of throws off all those things. I don't want to be king. I don't want to be king by my own hand. I don't want to be king at all. That was one.
Right.
I have to keep taking drugs. So now you've got a drug addicted, flawed protagonist is a better phrase.
Yeah.
And I will say as much as the books go further and further in, and this is something I blame about Mortok, he kind of just ignores the fact that he's a weakling. I mean,
here's the thing: the sword compensates for that. The sword naturally empowers him as he consumes souls, so he doesn't need the drugs anymore. But that's
no.
Still
He
even
still
worse.
needs the still needs the drugs, except whenever he's fighting. That's the point.
Oh, no, he actually doesn't need the drugs with the sword. He uses them to make him stronger, like dragon blood. But he doesn't need them.
He does say in this book that he doesn't need them, or he doesn't think he's going to need them, but he needs them.
Right.
He needs them. If you leave,
look at him, guys.
The other books,
this whole culture, they're getting stoned all the time. So they're just all druggies.
No.
Well, one of the things
makes elves a lot funner now.
Speaking of his weakness, his illness, that's one of the things that bugged me. We'll just say Poseidon. I've already forgot the elemental king's name.
Strasha.
He was disappointed when the prince didn't ask for more. My first thought was, ask for him to cure you. Ask for him to cure you.
I don't think he could. Is kind of the thing.
So here's part of it. Elric has all the magical skills that he's supposed to have as ruler. The problem is that he is, I'll give you a good example if you want to do more modern era. He is the Tyrion of Game of Thrones. He is. No one really respects him. He is considered weak and frail. That's why they all want his cousin to be king. He doesn't want to be king. He, even when he has a sword, he still needs the drugs. It's mentioned in several of the other books. It isn't until later in the writing that he kind of just ignores it. And he doesn't go around killing all the time. He's trying to resist the sword at a certain point. And
well, I really thought that Moorcock even mentioning that the sword cured him from his illness.
He literally said that.
And I guess he figured that in the next books or so, as you're saying. But obviously, you're giving yourself a cop out. You're already being weak on the premise. So.
Well, it's fine as long as he's swinging the sword and it's taking souls. It energizes and fuels it. But when he's not, he needs the drugs.
I remember in the same guy I told you about, Shadow, that there was a scene where Elric actually saved a bunch of slaves. He killed the masters of these slaves, and then immediately kills all the slaves as well, just to feed the sword. Like, Elric is not a good guy.
No, he's not.
No, he's not even an anti-hero. He's just a villain, with a thin veneer of morality. He is not a good guy at all.
He doesn't even claim to be a good guy. I mean, when you start thinking about just flailing people, flaying people, he's kind of like, yeah. Well, that's what he mentions with that. What is his assassin or whatever early in the book.
Dr. Jest.
Yeah, it's like okay, but. There's later on when he's not using the sword or he loses the sword, he still has to go back. Again, these are stories that you guys are not getting out there, but it's setting up for the whole fact that the two swords, I hope that's in this book.
Yeah, they are Mornblade and Stormbringer. The Irkun and him fight them towards the end of the book, yeah.
But Mornblade comes back later and the swords are kind of forged to in this cosmological battle. That's really where the point of really reading Moorcock is to understand where D&D got the alignment and the cosmological impact.
It's not just Moorcock, but he's a big part of it, yeah.
No, I mean if you look at BX, lawful, neutral, and chaos, that's where he's getting a lot of it. And it's a cosmological battle. I'm not saying
the cosmology. There's also the alignment is also in 3 arcs and 3 lines because you get the main protagonist that can rebuke chaotic creatures with the power of his god. So that also comes up, and even you could argue that law and order and chaos in Amber is another source of alignment.
Yeah, I think that's a good reason to be on this journey right now is to see all the different places that Gygax and Arneson pulled ideas and then turned them, tried to make them their own thing. And alignment, this is a big one. This book is off, or these books are often, the first place people will tell other folks, you want to understand the alignment system, this is it. This is the the jumping off point. This is where you begin to try to understand why he did or they did alignment the way they did. I was wondering. I don't know much about Michael Moorcock, but I do know back.
He does like Moorcock.
Uh,
I will always make that joke. It is a required statement whenever this guy.
Anyway, this book just proves my theory that all elves are actually supposed to be chaotic, evil creatures in fantasy role-playing.
And in Paul Anderson, which is I think another big inspiration for Moorcock, is that in that paladin I mentioned in that book series can actually turn elves as if they were undead. He can rebuke elves because they are creatures of chaos. They are evil. So
speaking of elves, if you go back in mythology, elves were kind of nasty creatures. It's only Tolkien who kind of tried to bring them into the realm that they are, trying to make them his own. And then of course you've got Keebler.
Yeah, see, it's all a setup. See all those pretty elves who look all beautiful.
That's just Tolkien.
Like Ariok, Ariok.
The drow are the only honest ones who go around, make themselves look like spiders and whatnot,
Yeah. Dr. Flamenco actually does make a good point that of all the Eternal Champions, only Elric is chaotic. The rest of them are lawful. All of them.
Yeah, basically, in a nutshell, the Elric later in the book, Elric meets up with 3 other guys that are basically him from other alternate realities, and they join together, become this freaking weird multi-armed creature, defeat another multi-armed creature.
So we're all the other.
Oh yeah.
No. That wasn't him. That wasn't himself. That was other heroes from other dimensions, but it wasn't him. They were each different, and they came together. But
they're incarnations, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. It's that whole multiverse thing of the prime material planes. There are certain planes where law has taken over and others that chaos has taken over.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of whenever you play D&D or things, and this is something that I think that modern players don't understand about alignment. They think it's in how you personally act. It's like, no, you are picking a cosmological side of the battle.
Yeah.
That's
like, and that's. I was going to bring up George.
One at a time.
I was actually going to say that George Egron actually got this wrong. Alignment has nothing to do with morality. It is all about choosing a side in the cosmological struggle. Morally good, ambivalent, or evil people can side with law. Morally good, ambivalent, or evil people can be neutral. And morally good, neutral, and ambivalent people can side with chaos.
I can see that. But see, George,
evil's a thing.
The George, this is the thing that you're saying. And ignores normal understanding, morality, and honor. Yes, but that's because you aren't reading those books they're pulling from Appendix F. It makes perfect sense once you read Moorcock of where it's coming from. And the other part is Elric wants to be on the law side, but because he keeps on, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, he has to keep on pulling out Ariok. To pull him out. And that he also pulls out the old deals that the Melboneans had done. I have these deals, and again, those deals were depending on like the rings and stuff like this. It's like they owed his family way back. Other people don't have that deals. So even if there was another Melbonean, he wouldn't have the right to call upon some of those other, like the cat god and the birds and the elementals and everything else. That was
What's up, Jordan? Welcome to the show.
Those are what comes into it. Now that said, he uses enough that I'm not a huge fan of Moorcock after reading it, but after reading enough of it, you understand where Gygax really put in this law and chaos, which is really better represented, oddly enough, by Warhammer Fantasy now than it is by D&D in the
right.
Well, D&D, it's deteriorated into just personality types.
Yeah.
If you go back in the old AD&D books, I think it was the Player's Handbook that has this diagram of not just the alignments, but the alignments more or less superimposed over the different parts of reality, the different dimensions, and that's it's sort of like the cosmic chessboard that is his universe, if you will, that
Yes.
shows how the different alignments represent, different places, and these different places are all vying, for supremacy. Even though if you were to remove any one of them from the equation, the resulting power vacuum would probably destroy everything.
Oh yeah.
They're all fighting over the material plane. That's the point of whenever the players are playing. You're fighting with the material plane. That said, it also allows you to be a murder hobo because you're fighting against the soldiers of the opposing army. When you're fighting orcs, you're like, oh, but you can't kill those baby orcs. It's like they're evil too because the orc race has picked a side, and that's what's coming into it. The only one that hasn't picked a side are humans, oddly enough, in the most part of all the demi-humans.
Fuck that. Yeah. Orc babies because killing babies is fun. Whether they're orcs or not.
How I sidestep that entire issue? I literally pull a Tolkien and say there are no baby orcs. They just manifest. They're either a corruption of another race, or they spring out of the ground as chthonic.
Pods, right? They just come out of pods. Like
they come out of the ground as a chthonic demon, or they are what happens when someone falls. No, it's not lame.
It's lame. I want to kill babies.
Fuck no,
actually, if you read the monster manual, it says that they do breed with other races. That's the whole.
If you want to kill babies, that guy kill elven babies. Then Jesus.
He's just joking, dude. Clearly hasn't had enough exposure to Justin's twisted sense of humor.
No, I have.
Justin does make a good point, though. The whole concept of law and chaos is really hard for a lot of people to wrap their heads around.
Yes, absolutely. We don't here on Earth, nor have we ever spoken in such terms. It was only
I played D&D enough that I walk around after people and go lawful evil.
No, that I don't even use the good axis line. I just say there's lawful, neutral, and chaos. And in my games, if you side with chaos, even if you are a morally upstanding person at the start, chaos will inevitably degenerate you into evil. It's just a corrupting force in my game. It's just evil. Because you see this throughout all of. Because even in the ancient mythologies of Greece and Mesopotamia, they understood implicitly that chaos, although is a force of generation, it is also ultimately a force of entropic degeneration. It will inevitably change you into something worse.
Well, this is why you have to have. That's why you always have to get the balance. You don't pick one versus the other a lot of times.
Well, no, it's just my gods are lawful and irrefutable, and they say we use chaos to create something good, and we must fight against the force of chaos that are bad.
It just comes back to the Vorlons and shadows. That's what it comes down.
Vorlons and shadows.
Two sides of the same fucking
everyone
coin.
Go watch Babylon 5. Law and Order will become a cleric.
Yeah, well, but see, they were doing good stories about that. The problem nowadays is that, and to be fair, even when I was a kid, I didn't read Moorcock, and I think that's the problem with a lot of it. Is a lot of D&D was based off of the assumption had read all these books.
Yeah,
if you haven't, you don't get the full feel.
Or at least a good number of them.
Yeah, well,
let's face it. The original D&D players were people our ages. They weren't 14-year-old kids. It just so happened that 14-year-old kids then, absorbed the hobby into, being in the 70s and 80s, and then they had to grow up and be able to, find these books because they weren't easy to find back in the day. It's a perfect example.
It didn't help that the news and churches created the perfect child ad campaign.
I didn't even see that until really the mid 80s. I didn't really see any of them talk about that because it was
that's literally when it happened. Omen was in the mid 80s.
I know. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but it was, if you look at it, if you read the AD&D, it was aimed at generally people in their 20s and 30s. A lot of high school, not high school, but college.
University, college.
Yeah, it was aimed at the university, which that's kind of when people are trying to explore and understand the different aspects. People probably read several of the books. And then the BX came out. It was aimed at a younger age group, really, that the BX was.
Yeah. It literally says on BX for 10 and up. So
right. They were aiming at the younger age group, which is where I came into it. that was the first book, but it's like, oh, cool, I want advanced. Okay, well, it's fine, but
Cool.
but it was done by war gamers too, which that
made it simple. It also made it, if you think about it from a wargaming perspective, it made it even easier to divide everything up. Okay, this is your army, this is my army.
That's literally what it was for. Yeah.
The other reason that chainmail, that's exactly what the law and chaos and neutral
was for.
Parties were for. It was for figuring out who might form an alliance with whom.
But here's the other side of this. Jesus, what is that scratching?
Oh, sorry, that's me.
Yes.
In OD&D, there was a chance that demi-humans only had like certain demi-humans had a small percentage chance to learn common. So having an alignment tongue, had a chance to learn common, and if they didn't know it, having an alignment tongue allowed you to guarantee to speak to, say, the dwarves. So if you were lawful, which a lot of clerics were, that's why dwarves get along well with clerics, because a lot of them were lawful, because there were no neutral ones.
RPG. I wish there was a war game. Oh my God, would this make a fun war game?
One of the interesting things I thought in all this. So we've got this culture that has dealings with the Lords of Chaos, but they clearly have order and structure, and at the same time, despite all their cruelty, all their clear evil by our moral standards, they've got love going on. Love for your children.
You're right.
For your spouse,
which is weird.
Brotherly love for your friend.
What was that, TCG?
Well, I was going to say, depending on the chaos, especially given how what point the culture is at now, it's perfectly happy to let you think you can be normal as it slowly seeds into you.
The whole point of this really is that they'd hit their peak, and then they sort of just retired back to this island and said, we don't care about the lesser races. We can crush them if we want, which is where Elric comes in and destroys his own race. I mean, that's part of it, is he's literally a traitor to his own race. Those are things that later come into it. We're talking about love, but most of it, when you actually read it, they don't really have love. It's honor.
Yeah, that's nobility for you, George. That's just how.
I was actually thinking Davin Tavar and his two children at the end of the book.
Oh, Davin Tavar, yeah.
Actually, I think some of them were. Well, I don't know, but there was some of those things were authorized, but there was the threat of a lawsuit. They just pulled them out. That was some of what happened in like the.
There was.
Doesn't mean it wasn't authorized. They had the letters and stuff.
Yeah.
They would have to fly from. Yeah, it has to be worth your effort to keep something in the book. They would have had to flown to courts here in California, hired a lawyer here in California, gone to court, say, yeah, we got the papers, and then negotiate what the two companies were going to do, and what's the easiest, cheapest thing to do? Not come to California.
Yeah,
game company.
No.
Yeah, the psychic damage alone is insurmountable.
Well, they had already paid the royalties. That was the thing, and then for some reason they just didn't use it. Everything was.
She said why. She said why, because Chaosium got the Call of Cthulhu, and it was still copyrighted, but they gave permission also to D&D to do it. So Chaosium was planning on suing TSR, and TSR just said, it's just easier for us not to put it in there because it's not critical to the game. I mean, It's not.
And then you flash forward to the future, and everyone's around the neck going, plagiarism.
Plagiarism for
Lovecraft.
Two companies figuring out how they're going to handle a copyright issue without having to go to court.
Yeah.
It's what is the average court cost nowadays? It's $500,000.
Well, it would have been
expensive then. I mean,
no. But I mean, you have to look at. I agree with you. It's expensive then, but people forget on just how expensive it is to win.
Now,
yeah,
you're better off just simply saying, unless it's most of the people who sue either are pro bono or they're just stubborn asses that are willing to just grind through.
On the principle,
they were willing to go to court, and since they were the ones going to bring the suit, then that would have meant that, the folks in Wisconsin would have had to have come to California.
And they were making plenty of money anyway. They didn't need it.
That was just one more thing on people's plates they didn't need to deal with. I mean,
if you're coming up, it's like, why do I want to even deal with the lawsuit? I'm making more money than paying for the lawsuit.
It's a corporate law thing, so they wouldn't actually have to be there in person.
Oh no
Only
way!
their lawyers would have to be.
But the
lawyers. We've got. I think we've derailed. I think we've derailed on the lawsuit stuff just a little bit too much. That's.
Right.
This is the shadow show.
That's kind of inevitable. Now, if I could open this bag,
Chaosium never.
Now, if I could open this bag, we'll be changing the topic of the show completely.
I just found my Deities and Demigods book, the original.
I hate you.
Chaosium didn't pay for the Elric, even though
it's
we
in
used
shit
their own
condition.
books.
Look at that.
But Chaosium got sued by Moorcock for using Elric series without paying him. He licensed it, but they weren't giving royalties for years.
Oh yeah, they'll get you in trouble.
Oh yeah, it was.
So kids, if you're going to make role-playing games, what have we learned? Get
Make
a good
your
contract,
own.
pay your
Get a real job.
Get a real job.
It's a sure way to
create your own IP from scratch.
Yes.
And if you're going to use something similar to something else is done, give it a totally different name with absolutely different phenomes.
I don't know, a certain Polish author who took Elric and turned him into a monster hunter.
I don't find, to be honest, the similarities between the two. When I read Elric and I read The Witcher, I do not find the two as the same character.
They have similar appearances and drug dependencies.
All right.
Yeah. And the cosmology is the same, but...
Yeah, let me talk about magical items. Do you guys have any favorite magical items that were in this book? Anything that
I want to know more about the damn ring.
I don't even remember the fucking ring.
The ring is what gives him authority. The ring is kind of like, whatever. It's like the Duke
of sigil ring.
Is the ring gives him the authority to command. And if you don't have the ring, then you don't have the authority.
The coolest thing I love was the mirror. The mirror was fucking cool.
Oh, the mirror for forgetfulness?
Of memory, yeah. The mirror of memory. That is something I will absolutely throw at my players at some point.
And then when it gets broken, because every player's going to do that.
Oh, yeah. Then, they see something creepy in the mirror, maybe the wisp of a memory comes out to attack them, and then they smash it, and all hell's going to break loose. Literally.
Well, if they get close enough to it to see something in it, they've lost their memory. So
real quick, the similarities between Elric and what is his name, Geralt, there are many. But
they're superficial.
Yeah. That's the character personalities are completely different. I mean,
be that as it may, there's definitely enough evidence to be argued in court. And thank God that's not happening, because that's all everybody would be talking about right now.
No, I mean, look, I've read the books for these, and I feel that they're very different characters. They're just different. Geralt is not a whiny little bitch like Elric is.
Oh, yeah, I think Geralt is a better person. He absolutely is. He actually cares about people, and isn't a psycho. But
well, to be fair, as you get further in the books, he has Moonglum. He gets the henchmen that are around with him.
And the archer, right?
Thanks, Dragon.
Yeah, he does get more into that, but sometimes it's just, I'm going to get into this because you're hurting my friends, kind of thing. But yeah, it's looking at it as I go, okay, to me that's like saying, oh, well, John Carter of Mars and Conan are the same.
No, they're not.
No, we don't say. Well, they are, but they're not. That's my whole point.
They're both male and white.
Yeah. And it's
and they have a pale complexion like that, brilliant bone, They're both mutants. They both serve the cosmic balance. They both are a result of the conjunction of spheres.
They both have to deal with stuff that's like magic.
Yeah, though they're both their magic are based on the elements and are runic.
Yeah.
What else?
That's what we're talking about. If it's a doomed hero,
which they are,
archetype, they're George. It's probably what they're both drawing on in that sense.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of it that's in there. It's like, oh, okay, but you're trying to say, well, they're just the same. You know what though? So is let's not forget good old, with the exception of the hair, the man without no name pulls the same crap. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of archetypes out there, and to say that they're identical, it's like, no, I don't feel the characters are the same. There are some that feel like total ripoffs. That's a whole different thing. But I'm
not saying that. I'm not saying that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to into it.
It's not copyright infringement to say I like someone's character.
Yeah.
And to write your own story around it, as long as you change the name of that character and enough details have to be different for it to be copyright.
20%.
I don't even think it's. I don't even think it's that much.
I think the fact of it is we all take characters. It's like when people complain, well, this isn't based off someone. No, every character a writer does is based off of someone. What he does is he takes different components of like dozens of people and then merge them into a human being.
The more and more I hear about copyright infringement and all this, the less I care for it. I'm just like, just write whatever you want and just fuck off with copyright. I just don't care for it anymore because
Dragon Shadow makes a good point there.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. He translated it a year before he wrote the Hexer. That's another good point. And he even recommended it as well. So.
But that's like me saying, hey guys.
Yeah, but he claims he has no.
The Iliad and the Odyssey. Man.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that since there's so much overlap in his work, and there is, and then claims he has no inspiration other than Polish mythology is a lie. And that's fundamentally the crux of my argument, is that he claims that Elric did not influence him at all, and it's very self-evident that it did.
Well, yes, but he might also be saying that to avoid some lawyer getting into Moorcock's ear.
Well, how much is
that?
Well, he already has. That's the problem, and Moorcock hasn't done anything, so it's like...
Wait a minute.
Yeah, because you don't care, he's too damn old.
Ellison and what he did for all of the crap for copyright. I mean, it was like,
what did he do?
Well, Morlock might not care, because Morlock also did...
Morlock? You're right, it's Moorcock.
Maybe Moorcock. Moorcock may not care because he also did.
It's his lifestyle,
I'm glad that Crafting Gamer is in this stream because we're not even talking about Elric at this point anymore. I'm sure he's happy.
Well, we're talking about all the stuff for copyrights and things. And at the end of the day, you're pulling from every source you read. It's the same thing as when people complain about AI. It's pulling from everywhere. Well, guess what? You do the exact same thing whenever you're learning how to paint or draw or write.
I'm literally myself writing a series based on an Amber Diceless character that I'm playing right now, and the cosmology is similar to the Amber cosmology, but I'm using the Greek pantheon to do it. So I'm not even saying this is a bad thing, but if people ask me, you got this from Amber, I'm like, yes, I did. Absolutely, I did.
It wasn't. No, do not say that. Say it was an inspiration.
Yeah.
That's
what I mean. Yeah.
Legalistic terminologies here, okay?
Well,
I don't even know if anybody.
The lawyers will drag up poor what's his face's corpse.
Oh, it's the last me. Yeah, I'm just saying. This is what copyright laws used to be 14 years after the book was published, and then it turned into 50 to 100 years after the author's death. I'm saying copyright laws are fucked.
Disney. That's because of Disney.
Yeah,
Disney Bono.
Disney fucked everything. I fucking hate you.
No. They bought Sonny Bono, and Sonny Bono pushed that through Congress.
Oh, okay, right.
Well, okay, so.
Well, yeah, but Sonny wanted that because he had copyrights that needed to be extended too.
Well, he's dead. That's.
Well,
God bless that tree.
No.
Elric is a fool character.
I wonder if you were going to make a tree joke. That's funny. I was thinking it was like he's going to make a tree joke.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you that don't know, Sonny Bono was skiing and went face first into a tree. and they killed him.
Oh yeah.
Wait. He was a Kennedy?
Yeah, he died. He died in a skiing accident.
Well, not trying.
No. Dude, so did one of the Kennedys.
Okay. I did not know
Was
that.
it the Kennedys?
Yeah.
The Clintons.
Yeah.
Folks,
Yeah,
this
he
is exactly
died in a skiing accident. Accident.
Well, he ran right into a tree and it snapped his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
he hit a tree. It's bad.
He was not George of the Jungle, is the point.
Yes. Mainly because it was a mountaintop and not a jungle.
Anyway, there's another thing I thought was kind of cool in the book was during the water battle between the Melniboneans and the barbarians was the fireballs. The fact that they're literally just hurling. Well, basically, I could just envision like elves on their ships just lobbing massive fireballs at rival ships. And the humans are just like loading up their cannons like every 3 rounds. And they would just go
like brass catapults and cool. Jars of fireballs. Already lit Greek fire or something like that.
I think it was literally magic. If I might be misremembering.
I think it was
artificial because they got oil spilled on their deck and it caught.
That you're right. Yeah. But I think it gave me the idea that I'm just imagining like elf spell slingers just going like pew pew pew.
But the slaves were having to
do
use
that in a fantasy game.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't help. They describe it as blue fire.
Yeah.
The slaves were having to load the catapults with tongs because the jars were already hot.
That the reason their ships were so fast is their slaves were given
a drug
that would ultimately kill them, all the slaves.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch that?
Yes, yeah, I did. Yeah. That was fun.
So the other we learned elf potions are
dangerous.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is
yes, if you do that much speed at once, it will kill you.
But the other thing I really did like is I liked the maze that you had to go through, and they had.
I thought it was stupid.
That was so cool.
I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. Okay, I get. Okay, there's like a maze you have to get through to get to the inhabited areas.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't you have the traders because they're still getting trade goods from the outside world?
Well,
why wouldn't you have them?
In real life, you have modern pilots that actually get on the ship and they steer the ship once it actually gets near the port. That's so they did the exact same thing, except they blindfold them so people couldn't find their way through.
You're assuming from a lawful position of why would they do this? They don't care. They're assholes.
Relax.
Justin will have a better port when he makes his.
I was kind of wondering why they didn't.
Yes, I will have a better port. You can offload your goods at the other end. You're not getting anywhere through the maze.
I have to agree with you, Justin. Why didn't they just have like a place outside where
an artificial island outside the other island?
Anything but we're gonna let you into the heart of our kingdom, but we've got these special helmets you got to wear and all this other crap.
Yeah. How about this?
They're a highly decadent society. They don't really care. They're just doing it because it's funny.
Well, no.
Maybe.
No. That's the point is that you want to show off on how great your society is, and they can't do that outside. You have to take them inside to show them. It was meant to awe. It was meant to be awe on whoever's there.
Yeah.
When they were at their peak before the murder happened and disrupted their whole culture.
The who?
Yeah, the Hittites. They had a big pyramid, and so when the Egyptians would have to come to them for trade, they would see this huge pyramid.
I think George nailed it.
Well, again, this is this.
Yeah, I get that they're just assholes, but I'm also lazy and think on how you can do things the lazy way. So,
there's also another thing. Speaking of magic items that were cool, the ship that sails on land and sea is cool.
That was pretty cool.
Airships, man. If you turn this into a war game, I want fucking airships.
Well, I like that he had to lose it later on. He
he didn't lose it. It just couldn't go. It just couldn't go on the land anymore because the douchebag elemental was being a douchebag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why don't make deals with elementals, kids. They're petty and vindictive assholes.
No. here's the thing.
Yes, if you ever have a
deals, wait a minute. Those deals went back thousands of years.
I will moderate that.
That's the whole thing.
I will moderate what Dark Knight said. If you ever have the opportunity to make a deal with an elemental, do so. I want to see the consequences.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's see that Darwin Award, eh? Darwin Award. The spiritual edition.
No. You're thinking.
You ever think you ever have the actual ability out there to make a deal?
No. The problem is the DK is thinking, oh well, we're gonna screw you in this character. No, you screw his ancestor in 1,000 generations.
No, that's true. That's a good point. That is a good point. Get them in the backstory.
You know where it says special when they roll on their backstory chart?
I just roll and go.
Chart.
and see, that's what Elric does, is he keeps on trying to reclaim it, including when his father was going through. He was the last person that could make a lot of these deals because they had made deals with the Melnibonea thousands and thousands of years before. And as they became more inbred, which is really the point of what Elric's supposed to be, is he's highly inbred. It's they're supposed to become more and more decadent, that people start losing it. So he's pretty much he and his cousin are about the only ones left that can actually call upon
sorcery. To help. They're the only ones with the pure blood. Yeah.
I don't know. I maybe the elementals, but I definitely know there was a lot of demonology going on throughout the kingdom.
Well,
this
is what happens when wizards run a society.
Yeah, it's Conan. It's pure Conan. You know.
But the whole point is that those major, like the ones with the birds and the cats and everything else, those were deals made, 5,000-10,000 years before Elric appeared, and each of them, they're only like a few, as it becomes more and more decadent and inbred, and they become weaker and weaker with each line, which is why his father hated Elric, because Elric represented everything that was wrong with his own society, and he was disappointed.
He's like Tyrion, like you said. He's basically the Tyrion. But what I love is bringing up the fact that the demons appear in the form of animals. I love the fact that the first time you see Ariok is in the form of a fly.
Yes,
I love that.
Very classic.
I love that so much. It's okay. And the decadent society summons a fly.
And he appears beautiful whenever he
as a child. As a child, that's the other thing. He appears as a child.
But then in the pulsing chamber of the swords, you see his true form, which is
it's believed to be his true form.
Yeah, something like Cthulhu. How to call it Cthulhu.
Like a tumorous growth, or just.
And the funny thing is that the Chaos Gods moving it along with themselves. So the Chaos Gods were also fighting with themselves later in the books. You start seeing
That's the benefit of law in a lot of these, is that law is singular and unified, and chaos it's legion. It is divided. We are many and divided. Which. And in my games, law seeks to pervert because it can't unify, or chaos seeks to pervert because it can't unify. So it just tears down people who are imperfect and just causes them to fall into chaos.
Or entropy.
Entropy. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean that's what part of it. I still like the dragons. And
the dragons.
The dragons.
They really missed out in the first book. They should have had one good scene of the dragons and not made us.
Oh, but they're all too tired, or we used them already.
What, dragons have charges now? What the frick?
Yeah. Well, don't you know D&D? They have 3 uses per day, and then they can't do it no more.
But explains why all those dragons are in dungeons. They're sleeping.
And the dragons, because don't like the idea. It does make it of how come they don't rule everything anymore. It's because the dragons have to sleep for however long they're awake. It's like 100 times or something. So if they're awake for a day, they have to sleep almost, what is it, for a year? I can't remember exactly what it is. And as they get older,
100 days, something like that.
The same thing happens about this whole thing. So, they can't. And later on in the books, of course, he does find his cousin.
Your coon,
Yeah. No, not that one. The
Cimarel, the girl.
No, the Dragon Rider, the one that was his.
His friend.
Grace Von Deer.
Start with
Oh
a
God.
D. His name start with a D.
Yeah. Deedon Far. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his cousin as well. I mean, that's the whole point of their being so inbred in there. But but he does have the ability to grab the dragons, but they can only use them like once or twice. It's a limitation, which I think that's the problem a lot of times. Is I know Shadow's going, oh, but I want to use all the time. It sounds so cool. Yes, but limitations force players to make hard choices, which is what I like players to do.
Yeah,
you want it now or not.
That is true, George.
You get the powerful weapon, but you don't use it against a fucking like pickpocket because
you get the cool Earthship, but the two elemental lords are fighting over it and messing with you regularly.
Yeah. It's the same thing of like you wouldn't use a cannon to destroy a fly, basically. But it would be nice to see like
that big fucking fly.
He has to use the poison because when he doesn't have the sword, he has to convert the poison from the dragons and do its small distillations.
To berserker,
did anybody feel like where the swords are being kept? Did it remind you of like a womb or something?
Yeah, like it was inside a
large. I didn't even think of that. That's a good point, actually.
Maybe an anus.
Yeah.
That's actually. I have to agree with Justin. I got more of the notion, that it was.
What's in a bog? It's literally in this bog.
Through the sphincter to get in and out. It was rather nasty.
Yeah, I got a massive like something from like Bloodborne or like Blighttown and Dark Souls. Yeah.
Yeah, like a living. They were inside a living thing. It seemed like.
Yeah.
Well, and later on, the two swords are to be used against chaos, which is interesting.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, they were made from a chaos god, weren't they, by the Lords of Law to destroy them or something like that? If I remember correctly.
Sphincter, exactly. Since we're joking around, I got to ask, when I first was reading it the very first time, way back, in the early '80s when drugs were a thing, I could not help equate Elric to like the stereotypical junkie,
Oh yeah.
The skinniness, the albinism, staying out of the sunlight,
red eyes. Yeah.
I was wondering if because we were talking about the parody. I was wondering because a friend of mine actually wrote a story called Elric of Melbourne Street, and his Stormbringer was actually called Stonebringer. It was just a cartoon, but a comic strip he wrote. But I couldn't help seeing all the different correlations between drug use and Stormbringer and Elric being the junkie. Did anybody ever think of anything like that when they were reading this?
Oh yeah.
Probably because I haven't dealt with junkies, it didn't come to mind. But you're absolutely right.
Lucky
when it comes in there, which is I agree with you 100%. And maybe that was Moorcock's view of, hey, you can still find redemption, or you're damning yourself by taking all these drugs anyway. But who knows?
Maybe something good will come out of it. What I thought was actually kind of cool was like Cimarel when they were riding back from the rain. There's like this moment during the storm where the lightning flashes and she sees Elric, and like his face is twisted and gaunt, his eyes are sallow, and it's all scarred. Like she basically gets this horrific vision for like a split second. And I don't know why it didn't like dawn on her that maybe this guy might not be like good to keep around,
Thank you, Drake. See, I told you need to hang out with us more, man. I didn't know this. I've never been one to read up on the authors, but that makes perfect sense.
I can see that.
And I was alluding to
representing
the horse as opposed to anything
and
else.
The whole addiction, Because when you're addicted to something, it's you see it, and it calls you,
Well,
and that's part of why
also,
he puts up the sword. He tries putting the sword up and getting rid of it numerous times.
right,
Yeah,
and,
you
and
can't.
I also noticed that he basically went the path of a drug user, with the gateway drugs being his potions, and then he finds the ultimate drug, which is Stormbringer.
And Elric just goes, and hey, buddy, you want to try this newfangled sword? First try's free. Just kill your cousin.
Oh, wait a minute. It's not just that. He also becomes addicted to asking Ariok for help all the time. That's
power.
That's power.
I mean, the fact that there's a heroin analogy is literally, the sword destroys his love. Yeah. Because he says, Cimmeril, I have slain you.
There you go.
Spoilers.
RPG Grandma.
Yeah.
You got your representation. It's not off of a character. It's off of a truck.
Yeah.
It comes out the butthole as well. So there's a drug mule analogy as well. It goes into the sphincter and out comes the drug. And it ruins your life. Bye-bye.
Well, also you could equate to Stormbringer as the needle.
What the fuck quaaludes do you think the guy was taking?
Probably some of that really bad shit, because he went to some really dark places, I think.
Well, yes, but there's a difference between narcotics and hallucinogens. They're dragging shit.
That's true. That is true.
Just ask L. Ron Hubbard, right, Dragon?
Or hallucinogens. We want to go read Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah.
That's not even true. That psychedelic allegations isn't even true. None of it's true. It was a fantastic. Yeah, it's just a bunch of hippie trippy retards in the 1960s who made those claims.
You know what? Anyone that has ever watched 2001 can say yes. It did make them expand their mind because it was crap. No, I hate 2001 with that whole weird thing at the end. No,
they did a lot of drugs in Apocalypse Now too, and I hate that fucking film. So,
well, I mean, couldn't the whole society of that Elric was in represent addiction too? I mean, because he's right. It drives people away. It builds walls. You're in a maze of confusion, and those trying to get to you, they can't. And you can't get out.
Well, it was also called the Dreaming Isle, wasn't it?
Right.
The Dreaming City, yeah. That's what Ymir means. It means a dreaming city.
Yeah. When they described all those fruits and what those different plants are used my first thought was instantly. My first thought was what a waste. They're using it to get high. You could use this for so many better things.
Well, no. What's actually worse is that those potions, those ingredients that they all pass by, those ones they don't even touch. They literally send the slaves out to find specific drugs. So those plants that were planted eons ago by their ancestors are just growing wild and untamed. So they're not even being used, which is even worse.
I mean, like a lot of things, it's like, okay.
But that's what happens when you have a drug-addicted society, right? Yeah. They just let's go to shit.
Well, all of that is that they've lost their purpose as well. There was no meaning or purpose in any of their lives. If you really look at it, it's not until Elric loses his love, and then he goes
a pirate or something,
and then he goes for revenge against his cousin, that he really gets that source. And then by the time that you get to the other book, he's a whiny, mopey bitch again. Oh, I love my love. And it's like he's a man searching for purpose. Is part of the problem.
He always was. That's why he was reading all the books and stuff before.
Yeah, Conan didn't have that problem. He was He was a very driven guy. He saw a problem and said, "Look, come hell or high water, I know I'm likely going to die against this devil in iron, but I'm at least going to try. I'm not going to go fight to a good night. If I can fight it, I'm going to fight it. This is who I am." Conan had no illusions of who he was. That's why he's a protagonist.
Conan lived in the moment. He didn't worry about all of the, that was
part of it. Because he knew he would die. He knew at some point he was going to die. So, it's like that quote from the film. It's like a Conan in the Conan film. Do you want to live forever? And that's such a profound line. It's so good. Such a good line. But there actually,
Yes,
I
yes, I
did
do.
bring up Conan for another reason. There actually is, in The Devil in Iron specifically, there is another city that is dreaming, but it's a city of the dead. Because the moment they died, there was like black magic, took
Ray,
their souls
welcome to the
away.
show.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that and there's all the souls going to hell and people trying to not end up in hell. And,
there's the one where they get on the giant conveyor, which is that's the only way to phrase it. Is they got a giant conveyor, and it isn't until one of the chaos gods goes out there and they break it. And
Oh boy.
in there, yeah. They did that one. They did. He brings up a lot of other stuff in there. Also, this
Raven.
I don't think Moorcock is that great of a writer for description. You go if you go listen to a lot of them out there.
I said that at the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been reading a lot of the other stuff. It's one thing to say, okay, this is his early book. He does get better in some areas, but a lot of it is, go read the pulp stuff from the 30s. You'll get a much better, Edgar Rice.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, the older books.
Superior.
Oh, they're so good.
He wasn't heavy in like purple prose, which is, I guess, okay, but he was repetitive and laxed in sensibility, or like I was saying earlier, how he used the word supernatural instead of like spirits or demons or whatever when it was.
Like he doesn't.
Sorry, RPG.
Yeah, he doesn't give the correct flavor for what he's talking about a lot of times.
Yeah, well, I think that was part of one of the errors common in the new wave of science fiction and fantasy. Yeah. I think at the very least we have to give him credit for giving us with his stories some originality in ideas, but the way he went about it, and sometimes Elric is not one of the great heroes. He's one of the great tragedies, as opposed to
he's the field card man in the tarot deck.
Well. Here's the other part, though. Is if you look at the '60s, I mean, let's take Heinlein. Heinlein doesn't describe a lot of things with a lot of words. They're trying to convey ideas rather than convey.
But at least when he does, he uses the correct flavor of language for what he's describing.
Now his friend, the dragon rider, he would be like a knight or something.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna go get to that because it seemed to me that everybody in this. Davin Tavir. All of the NPCs were more interesting. More. I would rather hang out with any of the NPCs, even Yurkun, than poor Elric.
Because they actually want to do something. They actually have a purpose. They have something they're striving for. Whereas Elric is like trying to figure out his morality and what he wants out of life. He doesn't know.
Even the torturer guy.
Was more interesting. I want to hang out with that guy. I definitely wouldn't want to go drinking with that guy.
I do get that Elric has like a notion of wanting to reform his people, but
no clue how.
He's
too weak.
Well, the other part is he is not an interesting, fun character like Moonglum and some of the others.
Not Talon. What's his name? The archer, Raggy.
Raggy
the Red Archer. Yeah, he's actually kind of cool. And the thing what I like about him is that when Elric goes into the portal to get the sword, Rakier actually, out of a sense of duty, actually follows after him. He's like, no, I gave you my word. You're my friend.
I mean, all of his quote henchmen are more interesting than Elric. That's the funny part about it is, and they make them humorous because they're not dark and brooding and depressing the entire time of self-flagellation. It's your friend that's crying over the fact he lost his girlfriend as a drunk. You're like, get over it. You're not a fun drunk
because he whines too much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless you're one of those women who like that whole Iggy Pop look, you're just not.
The archer, what's his face? Red.
Rakier.
I don't care what his name is. What was he? What was he exiled to the?
Because he pissed off. He was a servant of the Chaos Gods, and then he
was
said,
literally
"Fuck you! I'm not going to serve you." And he actually did what Elric could not do. He actually told the gods, the Chaos Lords, to go fuck themselves, and they banished him for it.
Okay,
so he at
that's
least
what it
has some
was.
sense of
Yeah,
he has some sense of principle about him, which Elric doesn't have.
Yeah, he developed some sort of
spine.
understanding of morality.
I'm going to bring up the other part. Is even Elric's opponents are not that interesting to say I like them or you want to find out more about them. In certain cases, you're not saying that they're like I said. I've gotten through like 1,200 pages of the book out of what 2,000, and I'm just kind of fed up with it at this point. I'm like, okay, you get the idea of the Chaos Gods, but there's better books I think that are just more fun to read.
Yes, George. He was looking for Tantalorn, which is like
the
Dagger baby.
Well, they found Tantalorn later on, and then he's trying.
But it's destroyed.
Hey,
spoilers.
Xanadu.
No spoilers. We'll get to those books over the next year or so, bro.
I hope not. I think one book is enough for Elric.
Well, spread over a year. Coming back.
Well, see, you have the disadvantage, Omen, of reading the books that came out after he wrote the end. And if you just jump ahead to Stormbringer and get it over with, you'll understand the whole thing, and then you could just shelve it and go, okay, that's a one and done. I've actually read them several times because I like all of the other things except Elric. His world was interesting.
The world is cool,
interesting. The cosmology was interesting. The NPCs were hysterical. But Elric was just, oh my god.
I would literally, if I were making an elf faction and like make Elfland in the Feywild, I would make it just like Melnibonea in the Feywild, and I would just make Irkun a bit like Elric, but it would still be Irkun. He would be like, no, I am a true Melnibonea, and this is how we rule, this is how we are.
I will torture you now.
Well, you know what? It's the problem is that we're looking at Elric. If you go back a few generations for the Melboneans, then you get to see on just how bad it is. You don't have to. I mean, when you start looking at all the places they had been and all the places they had fought, it's kind of if you go for their heyday. I mean, really, they were. That's why I would probably start them for some of that, and then the players fight against it. It depends on which. We're looking at the very end of the man. He has his other cousin.
I read like the first story of for Elric was like boom right in the middle of him doing stuff, and then all the stuff was written later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like the first one is not Sailors on the Sea of Fate. It's what's the third book called again?
Weird of the White Wolf.
A short story.
Weird of the White Wolf, and then he went retroactively back and said, "Oh, we'll make up Melnibonea and Sailors on the Sea of Fate."
Well, and the Fortress of the Pearl, which actually I didn't mind the Fortress of the Pearl.
Really, I've heard a lot of people say that one sucks.
The Fortress of the Pearl. Yeah. I didn't find that too bad actually, because I think it sets up some of the things. It's where he goes into the dream time, if I remember correctly, to go find the. So there's some of that, but those are the four that we just mentioned. What? And then this next one is the Vanishing Tower, the Revenge of the Rose, the Bane of the Black Sword, and finally Stormbringer. And then you go to the very final stuff, because I'm kind of glad that I didn't read this early on, because now I can get it. Then you have the Dream Thief's Daughter, which goes back to the Fortress of the Pearl, the Skraeling Tree, and the White Wolf's Son, which is going to come into the. And
all that's pointless. All that's pointless when you read Stormbringer.
No,
because
that's like saying, "Oh, you already know Ragnarok's going to come in, so why do I care about?" Because I care about the stories in between. But
it would be like reading the end of Ragnarok and then going back. You need to put that
What's
very
wrong
end.
With that? I have no problems with that. It's like, okay, I like to see how people get to somewhere. I like to find out what happened in between. But it's the same thing of like,
it's different strokes for different folks. Omenal likes it. Shadow and Sun doesn't. That's just.
Well, it's kind of like that movie Brazil for me. The one and only time I saw it, I found out 45 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes into the movie, the guy's dead. but they don't tell you that, and you're watching it for 45 more minutes.
Yeah, because it's about the world building and
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
like
but
most of
the
it's
world
happening
gets
in
destroyed in
Mars.
book 6.
So what?
So
what? That's not any different than any other,
apocalyptic fiction,
yeah,
really.
Yeah, exactly. It's all going to get destroyed. The question isn't the end. It's not the destination.
It's what emerges out after. Yeah, because let's be frank.
Okay, now.
Entirely.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, RPG Grandma. You trying to say something?
Well, when you look at the titles of his stories, what effect do you think book titles have on like modules and other titles that we find in role-playing games?
That's an actually interesting question.
Crucial. I think they're crucial.
Because I think you can see this sort of things play out in titles.
Oh, the Forbidden City. Let's forget for I1.
Or the Lost City, or the Isles of Dread, the Caves of Chaos.
Yeah.
The Tomb of Horrors.
Well, yeah, but the Tomb of Horrors was not any horror. It was boring.
I know. I get you, but the name is evocative, even if the module necessarily isn't. Yeah.
Well, but that mash. Well, see, I like the whole thing with Pharaoh. I was like, oh, okay, I immediately know what it's going to do. You put the art on the front that shows me a pyramid. All right, I'm in. You know,
you're in. Bring on the pyramids home. Have you seen the shelf book?
The whole point of if you're playing D&D is, I'm sorry, I've been to Germany. Seeing another stupid castle doesn't really impress me.
It's a pulp emulator. That's called. Yeah. This is the thing that a lot of players don't realize, like modern players. D&D, literally in the Three Little Brown booklets, it literally mentions if you lack the imagination to pull from the pulp and draw inspiration from the pulp material, you should not be playing this. Guys literally say if you're not inspired by like John Carter of Mars or DeCamp,
it literally says in one of the books, it has like for monsters, 2 different places. So you have the one thing where it talks about robots and cyborgs.
Yeah, Mars.
It talks about
the desert is literally Mars. It has in parentheses Mars because it's John Carter. It's John Carter Mars. Yeah, like the 3 different Martians, the
there.
Yeah, and the dinosaurs and the cyborgs and everything. Oh, it's but you know, modern fans will say, oh, it's totally Tolkien. Yeah, because I remember in the Silmarillion, Morgoth rode into battle on the final in the final war on a fucking T-Rex.
Well,
yeah,
but part of that gets me for the whole thing is you're supposed to take it from all these different sources to inspire your own game. And you know, Gygax, I think, even mentioned. I'm listening to him. Originally, he didn't want to create. He thought you can create your own world, so he didn't want to do the world building for you.
Right.
And then when the man found out that there was an interest, I'm like, look. That's exactly what comes down to it is, do I want to do all that work or not? And then sometimes, like the same reason I read books, I want to go into your world and then I'm going to mod it. And I'm going to take on how I want to change it up. But I think the problem that we have nowadays in the current culture
is people don't have time. They either don't have time or they're just lazy.
No. Of printing, as you know, when you look at it, is what we're going to do is we're going to project you instead of you earning to get to those high levels. Which is really what, you know, when you have to level and you have to work at it, it means something. When your characters can die off very easily, if their 6th level character means something. I mean, yeah, okay, you can kind of coast when you get up there, but my God, getting up to that just getting up to 3rd level is a pain in the ass. You know,
one pitfall, and if you're even a 3rd level wizard, 1 10-foot drop could kill you. Could easily kill you. D4 health, baby.
Well, and that's part of what I think that's coming into it is now there's this, and I'm going to mention, you know, comics. Well, I'm going to take Batman, but I want to make it into a high school romance. No. Someone literally did that for
I know.
And
there's some strange role-playing games on RPG.
Yeah.
Well, and the problem is that these people want, because they know that they can't write, that they want to write their own story, but they can't. They're not a good enough writer to actually make anyone want it. So they have to take characters that people love, so people will actually read what they write. I mean, it's the worst.
All I have to say to these people,
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
All I have to say to these people is that if you want to do like drama with a superhero veneer, there's a way that it's been done. It was called The Incredibles, and it's one of the best superhero films ever made because it's not really a superhero film. It's a family drama film inside of a superhero world.
Well,
it's great.
Characters matter. Matter. That's
characters
the whole
matter.
And you need to learn how to. But I'm going to mention one thing with the Dragon Shadow. I don't remember when Sauron did it, but I do remember when Ronald Reagan went in with the guns and the Velociraptor. Fight the Cold War along with what was I love that. I love that the one where he has what is it, George Washington with the lasers and other stuff. Anyway.
Or Teddy Roosevelt with the 2 Uzis on the back of a bear going into Cuba. Oh man, I would love to put that into a game. You just see some guy in the 1860s running around fighting Indians with machine guns on the back of a bear. That sounds awesome.
But I mean, but that's the whole point. Is that whenever we're reading Appendix N, it's supposed to inspire us and to give us an understanding of.
It's Cowboys and Indians. Itself. That's what it is. It's Cowboys and Indians.
Oh, I know, but I meant, but we're supposed to understand on how the world works by getting you appreciate what they had built with D&D when you start reading more of the Appendix N books. You're like,
that's the point. We're here, guys. Yeah. That's the point. Speaking of which, the inevitable question. I want to start with TCG because he has been so polite tonight.
Yeah. Sorry about that, TC.
Well, he's thrown in some good lines there. TCG, what if anything would you take from the story and add to your current game or campaign or maybe even the next character or NPC you make? Is there anything?
I absolutely loved the I already forgot his name. The Elemental King.
Strasha.
Oh, Strasha, yeah.
Well, there was the one of Earth, and the other one was.
I didn't get that far. I've only seen the
water.
Yeah,
the water one. Like I said, you missed it, Omen. I could see why people like this book. It did not grab me at all.
Oh.
So you take Strasha, and what would you do with him?
I'd make him. One of the things I like to do is leave an NPC for players. They can always get a mission from, or maybe if they're in a dire straits, they can get a little bit of help from someone they can always fall back on at some point. Maybe not a major PowerPoint. I mean, in case he's an elemental, and he might not tell the players his major PowerPoint in my game, but I always like having an NPC the players can always rely on in some fashion. Because I've discovered the hard way, if you don't, and you end up having a few people betray them, and they don't feel like they have anything to turn to, they quickly just lose interest in the game. Like, well, what's the point in playing if we don't have anybody we can get help from, and everybody hates us?
That's a really good point.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah, they have to have a connection and feel some sort of connection to your world. If they just have the entire "it's us against the world" mentality, that is the birthplace of murder hobos.
Yeah, which is why I don't allow people to play chaotic characters in my game. I just don't allow them.
Well, and part of it is, when you're talking about chaotic characters, a lot of times it's not that they can't do it. Most players are not mature enough.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, if I know and trust the players that they're mature enough not to do some assholeish behavior, sure. But for neophytes or dickheads, I'm like, you either play lawful or neutral, or you don't come to my table. And that's it.
Right. Well, I also like having the moral conundrum, which is if you have a good, like, Elric is considered chaotic in the, he would be considered chaotic in the game. He would.
Yeah.
But he still tries going against chaos. He tries going against that nature.
Well, I would argue he's neutral. No.
I mean, if you look at, he is truly chaos because he is.
Chaos.
Ariok has him, and doesn't matter what he tries doing. Ariok still has the claws in him.
But don't you find that he does try? He does try to do the good, right, or or lawful or at least logical thing.
Well, the lords of law, like for the sake of the balance, picked him specifically because he is an intermediary species. Like they asked, well, why choose me? I'm a creature of chaos. My demon patron Arya is a lord of chaos. Just so. For you know the qualities of chaos. They chose. It's like Stormbringer was designed of chaos to slay chaos, just like Elric was. He knows chaos, but he doesn't serve it. Because he's born of chaos. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's a chaotic character that you can actually have work with
a negotiation. Yeah,
and that's the problem. Is most players, when they start picking evil or chaotic, they use it as an excuse to do whatever they want, including being dickish to other players. That's the big problem. Yeah,
that's the big problem I hate with the good, neutral, and evil alignment, because it ascribes morality to alignment, and that was never the intention of alignment at all. It is a cosmological religion or team you pick, and that's it. That's the side you pick in the religion argument, and that's all it ever was.
So back to the question, Grandma, what would you swipe from this? Or what have you swiped? What will you swipe? Will you swipe no?
I like.
Will you swipe right for Elric?
I like adding in more of the horror end of the demons and stuff. And when you die, a lot of the places people are going they're just terrible. It's like you don't want to. It's better to go to the elemental lord than to go to the king of the sea. Kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just a lot of the horrible stuff that culture is, because I say it, and I've said it many times, all elves are evil.
All elves are evil, baby.
Well, I always look at them as being indifferent, not evil per se.
Well, that human organ slave thing, it's a must.
I've always looked at elves as being
described as elves per se. They're described as just.
Well, I mean, what we're saying is that elves in OD&D and onwards were heavily inspired by Elric. It's why they're neutral and chaotic in OD&D. It's where the spell sword stuff comes from. It's very obvious they're Melnibonea.
But it makes them way more alien
and interesting.
What were you trying to say, TCG?
Untrustworthy.
I was saying I've always viewed elves as, at least I've always played them off as basically neo-Nazis. If they don't have absolute children.
Yeah, that's a good call.
That is hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's weird because I have always considered, I always looked at elves, or at least in my universe, as like angels without wings. In my cosmology, they were literally created before humans.
By Corlin. Yeah.
Mind you, this was before I had read a lot of mythology about elves and learned how traditionally elves are jackasses.
Tolkien did that as well. It's not surprising. He kind of did that too. So.
Well, yeah, magic items having a positive and a negative side. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, you better hope your players don't get Stormbringer, because shit's about to go down.
Well, part of the problem is that when you have Stormbringer, it's like, well, it's still thirsty and it still attacks some of his friends sometimes if he's not careful. So
it's like Raggy the Red Archer got shoved, got cleaved down to his shoulder bone. And it's like, no, Elric, not my soul too. And so died the Red Archer, hero of Tanalor. And all Elric could do was weep, or he could laugh for the loss of his friend.
What book was that in?
I don't know.
And if it's not in this book, stop talking about it.
Okay, if nobody has read the book series that's over 40 or 50 years old, I don't care.
No, stop spoiling the book during the freaking show. You can do that in your own show.
Wait. I'll just say this much. No one's going to remember in about
some of us here haven't. I suggest Justin and TCG have never read these before. And
since I'm in here for the long haul on these damn things, I'm going to end up having to read these damn books.
Because you started the series.
Damn you, fucker! Damn ass monkey
We
book
probably
picking
shouldn't do
Shadow.
Jack,
It's your fault.
Jack Vance's.
I was the one who actually picked.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Elric,
It's
so-
Shadow's fault. Stop taking credit for Shadow's mistake.
Yeah, I'm trying to protect my
Thing,
friends.
though, which is well, hold it. DK being from Ireland, right? DK.
Yeah, man.
His whole view of the Fae is completely different to how most people
The Fae are
view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
So DK,
Mhm.
what are you going to swipe from this, or what
I
have
would
you?
take the city itself, their fleet. I like the
Yeah.
boat that goes on land and sea. I like the demon aspect as well, that they all worship these demons. I would use them as there would be two factions. The neutral elves would worship the elementals, which would be the ones you'd find in the Prime, and the fairy elves you'd find in Elfland would all be demon worshipping psychos. So they're either indifferent or they're psychopaths. So that's what I would do. The mirror. The mirror is a big one. I love the idea that the way I would treat the mirror is certain elves can use the mirrors to transport, but if they use them as a weapon, then they can wipe your memory and do the whole. If you smash them, then you go insane. So, but that's just me.
How about you, Omen? What would you swipe?
I like having. How would I want to call this? I like having packs with elder beings.
Cthulhuid monsters.
Well, no, I'm not saying. Well, in certain cases, like the Lord of the Cats or the Lord of the Birds, it's not that they're necessarily monsters per se. I mean, you have something in Monster Manual 2 where they have the Cat Lord.
Yes,
you know,
I'm highly inspired by this.
You know,
They're
a lot of
really?
a creature.
Is you can grab this thing. Guess what? Not every monster that you meet is evil. A lot of them can help you out, but you have to make certain deals. Like there were certain deals that were made by the Melboneans that, we'll as long as
except for orcs, the younger they are, the more evil they are. That's why you kill them.
The whole point being is that, there were certain deals that they made with the birds. Oh, the birds could flock here, or we would always do certain things for them. And as long as the Melboneans kept that deal, then they would get the help of they could summon these things.
Kind of like that thing in Beastmaster with those weird bird creatures where he makes that deal, that implied deal with the bird people, and then later on they come and rescue him. You make a deal and you help them out. They will be there later on down the road when you really need them.
It's about.
We should never reference Beastmaster for anything, bro.
Beastmaster had those cool beast people. Again, totally the ziggurat.
Justin's just a hater.
Is that if you want
have you ever seen Beastmaster?
No, but you've complained about everything I've been recommended by Shadow, so I'm like,
That's his job. That's his job.
Yeah. He's just a crotchety old man. Just get off my.
Shut up for a minute. Okay.
Fuck you.
No. I mean, I'm trying to get this point across. You've been interrupting me for this. No, but the whole point is that then the characters can make deals that they have to hold. So then they, and then that can be part of not just your campaign, that can be part of your future world of whenever you're starting to do this in here. Oh, do you want to break such and such pact with, if you have a sorcerer, how do we break that pact? You have to go destroy something, and you have to go do something to shear that alliance that he has with the elder beings that are out there. And I think that sometimes we just forget to do that.
Yeah. Having beings that they have to negotiate with, and that's always good because
Yeah, those are really good points, folks. Because if you tease your players with these situations where they can make an alliance or a deal, it's often the way to get them out of something horrific that they get themselves into. It's kind of like having that ace, up your sleeve. It's like, okay, we did something really stupid, but they've got that way out because they did something way back. And no, DK, I know the guy.
Okay, fair enough.
And DK, the only reason I was doing it is because you kept interrupting when I was trying to finish off my thoughts. So
no, it's fine, man. I was being a dickhead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So here you guys go. The game that Wizards of the Coast putting out. But before that happened, they made gods for all the elves. So now, knowing what we know about elven culture, looking at it
Demons.
from this perspective, none of those gods would actually be good guys. No.
There is one maybe, and she's
maybe the only one telling the truth. So.
Well, no, there's one who's actually kind of good, and it's the drow goddess who helps the drow escape Lolth, and that's the only one. Not even Corlon. Not even he's a good guy because he just said,
no.
"Oh no, you guys didn't listen to me. You guys can fuck yourself," and just let them.
So go back and stood. Look, if you were to rewrite them as the powerful, more lords and ladies of chaos type beings, how would that are pursuing themselves beautifully?
I would view them mostly as indifferent in most cases because they aren't, this is the part of with the Melboneans. Guess what? Your gods have stayed behind. I mean, Elric could have picked other people to be his champion. He picked the Melboneans, and that's who he could call upon. But why aren't they, there were a few other sorcerers, but they were not as strong as Elric that called upon chaos. And that's what kind of interesting. Well, in the other books, they do. He fights. He's like, well,
I think it was kind of a big, huge chunk of it was a predestiny thing. He's writing about this guy, so this has got to be the guy. You know what I mean?
No. But the whole point is, Elric was from generations. There were, it went through his entire line that they had made these deals at the very beginning of their race.
Right, but even Yurkun couldn't summon him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he wasn't part of the family line.
Imperial family.
Well, he was a cousin.
Yeah, but
that's
but
you
don't
with the ring. You don't have the authority.
Yeah, the ring did make it. The ring was part of it. So, Justin, anything you can take from this?
I was thinking of what the invaders said at the midpoint. The barbarians when they tried to get in. About how the Melboneea was going to destroy the world or whatever. That they were going on like the prophecy that was being talked about.
Oh yeah, our gods have told us that it is so. Yeah.
Yeah. I would work in that, but I like that kind of like something may or may not happen kind of thing.
I just imagine those guys. That was just Moorcock's way of snubbing up at Conan because they're basically barbarians. They're Conan, and
everyone mentions barbarians, but when I read Conan, I didn't really get the idea that he was the barbarian in the sense that he was not a native to whatever culture he was going.
Oh yeah, they're not Melniboneans. Therefore, it's a very Roman way of looking at it. They're not Roman, therefore they're barbarian. Yeah.
But I viewed them actually more as corsairs and stuff like that than I do as actual Germanic style barbarians that we think of.
Well, I mean, Conan is Sumerian, so he's English. Like it's from the word Cymru, so it's like Welsh, Ireland, Scotland, and England, not Germanic.
For me, go ahead, Owen.
No, go ahead. No, you got it. Go for it.
For me, like I said earlier, it was the NPCs. Some of the NPCs just have so much more to offer than Elric. So I want to, when I make NPCs, I want to give them, or at least I'm going to try to give them reasons for player characters to care about them, rely on them, and want to protect them if they have the opportunity. But also, like was said earlier, to give them people to trust and be their friends and things like that, as opposed to just cardboard cutouts that are just there to fulfill like your typical NPCs in a video game. I want them to have a lot more going on.
You want the players to be. You want the players to be invested in them. And the other part is when you get a henchman, and this does happen, where he loses his henchman effectively, they go and do something else. Well, he feels like an obligation later on to help them out. Also, it's like, hey, there's something going on here, and then some characters come back, books later, and they go, oh, okay, oh, and it's like, look, I don't have to be the same level. Yeah, you're 10th or 12th level, but guess what? The 5th level guy is the one that actually fun to have around, rather than the 12th level guy. Yeah, that was part of it. So, I mean, it's at the end of the day, is you have to separate yourself. But that's the other part with the multiverse in there. I get tired with the whole multiverse things like that, to be honest, because then I feel like almost nothing matters. Because you can just go to it's the Rick and Morty. Hey, I can just go to another universe and I see this one.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I don't like multiverses.
There's one iteration of the multiverse. Yeah, there's one iteration,
but it becomes that way in D&D as you get higher up.
Yeah, the one iteration I like of the multiverse is actually like to bring back like the old one is the Zelazny, like Amber, because it's not a real multiverse because the main conceit of the book is that anything that is like the pattern is real. Things connected to the pattern are real. Everything else is just kind of a
mirrored image,
mirror image, yeah, essentially. It's not real. Now, it's real to them, but nothing of you could destroy that entire world and nothing would matter, really. What happens in Amber is what's important. Yeah. So that is a way to do it better, but even then, it can get a bit weird. It still kind of runs into the same pitfalls, sort of.
Well, and I mean, like I said, I just felt later on in Warcock, because I noticed that sometimes and I haven't looked at the chronological, sometimes he gets better descriptions than he does at other times.
Yeah.
But I think part of it is that when this book came out, Elric was unlike any of the other heroes that were going around at the time.
Oh, yeah. Now, can you do me a favor?
What?
Can you turn a lamp on?
Oh, why?
Oh, you're gone dark,
just
bro.
a black screen.
Yeah, you're just a disembodied voice now, Omen.
Okay, last question before we wrap up tonight, folks. Last question. And I'm going to start with Justin and go around the clock. Justin, would you recommend this to anybody?
As a simple read, yeah, but it wouldn't be a high recommendation.
Okay, and would it be because of its ties to ancient D&D and role-playing, or just for some other reason?
Just because it's a fantasy story.
Okay. Grandma?
I don't know. I got other Moorcock books. I might, but you know what? I'd probably just tell them to read Stormbringer.
That's fair. Owen?
If you're going to be playing D&D and things, or you're going to be playing DCC, or anything that's using alignments as a cosmological battle, then I would recommend that you at least read several stories by Moorcock with Elric, just to understand what it means, because that's the problem all too often. I see all these people arguing about alignment, and it's like, but you have no frame of reference to understand why there was an alignment out there. Otherwise, to be fair, go pick Palladium with their alignment.
Thank you.
I mean, if it's not a cosmological battle, if you wanted to go by personality, then go pick a Palladium alignment, because they do alignments as personalities.
They do it so much better. Well, it tells you how to play the freaking character, not whose team you're backing.
Well, but again, in D&D, you're doing the cosmological battle. When you're doing Palladium, that's not really what you're trying to do. You're trying to pick out your personality for your character.
Oh, yeah. People forget in D&D, you were supposed to keep your alignment secret.
Oh, and you were supposed to...
That was the reason, was it not?
Yes.
Or you wore it on your sleeve and you took the slings and arrows from the Assassin's Guild from your opposing alignment.
Yes, that's right.
Yep. And you never say your alignment language willy-nilly, for the love of God.
No, it was all secret handshake stuff.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is that's fine if you're a paladin. That's part of it if you were a ranger.
Or a cleric.
Sleeve.
Yeah.
But what people forget about is when you were neutral, you had not aligned yourself with any of the major powers. You had aligned yourself with just the material universe, and that was it.
Or your fellow community,
True,
whatever it
yeah.
might be.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
TCG, yes or no? Would you recommend this? A little louder. You're coming in quiet.
I was saying, anybody I know right this second, no. But if I met someone in the future who I thought might like this, yes.
Okay. And DK?
Like Omanal said, if someone wants to understand alignment, I would recommend that they at very least read one of the books, just one of them, to understand it. There are certain people who I think would really enjoy it, but honestly, if I was going to tell them to read any of the pulp stuff, I would tell them to read Conan. Handily, I'd tell them to read Conan. It's much faster, it's much quicker, much better combat, and much more fast-paced.
Well, but I think that it was also better descriptions too.
Yes. But is it bad? No, but I felt a lot of it was meandering. It's not my cup of tea. A lot of it is, there's cool ideas in it, but
I think that's weird because you did come into the conversation today. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, that's fair. That's true. There's things I like about it, but the more I think on it, there is a lot that I didn't like about it. But I did enjoy it. I did. But
the opening setup. Sorry, open out. Just looking at this out. The opening setup is repeated. Like Moorcock opens the book with a description of what the world's on, and then he rewords that same description and gives it pretty much verbatim.
Fair enough.
And he does this several times at the beginning of the book.
I'm going to bring up one thing is if you want to, if you want to get in the philosophical view when you're playing one of the games, then I highly recommend Moorcock. If you're trying to find out what's the best for verbal descriptions and things like that, I honestly think Conan, Thieves' World, John Clark, the other books we've been looking at.
Even Lovecraft. Let's be frank, when it comes to purple prose, Lovecraft is the best of the Appendix N.
No, I'm saying he does great for horror.
I don't know. Yeah. You guys are
or Aston Smith. Clark Aston Smith is also really good as well.
Well, yeah. Well, there's a difference between description and purple prose.
That's fair.
And let's be honest, is Lovecraft does horror very well. He doesn't do action very well.
No.
Well, I don't think he could run, to be honest and fair. As for me, I can actually say, no, I wouldn't, simply because there are books I enjoy so much more, obviously Amber, but there are books on the list that we haven't gotten to yet that I would easily recommend before some, to be honest, there's some I'd recommend before all the ones you guys have recommended, especially RPG Grandma, sorry. That book's
Who would you recommend?
I'll tell you what, my next favorite will be my next pick, but that leads me up to, I believe, it's TCG's pick for a book off the Appendix N. Do you have one ready for us?
Yes, actually, one of three technically, because I've been looking. I wanted to get
just pick one. It's all on you, man. You get to pick. You've been so freaking cool tonight.
The low bar is the book I picked.
By name, the one that interests me the most out of the three I found was Eyes of the Overworld.
By who?
Jack Vance.
Jack Vance.
Oh,
and I found an audio.
The Overlord, or are we going to do like the Dying Earth, which is the
because that is
nice. An audio version on YouTube.
I'll post them on the Appendix N.
It is one of the Dying Earth books, and I'm pretty sure that's the first Cuggles story, right? Or is it the second?
Should we do them in order, though?
Yeah, that was the point. Should we get the first one done?
Well, because here's the thing. With the Dying Earth books, I just read them. The first Dying Earth book is a book of short stories, and then the second two are about this thief. Now, if you want to skip the short stories, I'm okay with that. We can come back to the Dying Earth, but we should read the first one because it is a chronological thing. You know what I mean?
The short stories.
Oh, I mean, it's the.
Okay, I looked at Dying Earth. The only reason why I didn't.
Overlord was next. Overworld.
Go ahead, TCG.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I looked at Dying Earth because I found the Dying Earth on YouTube. I was like, oh, this is a bunch of mini videos. I don't know what this is. I kind of skipped over that. But if that's the start for Eyes of the Overworld, I'd actually prefer to start from the beginning of a story than somewhere in the middle.
Well, the Dying Earth is the start of the world, but Cudgel or whatever, I think it's Cuggle because of the way they pronounce it. I'm not sure which one. Someone could look it up, the order, but whichever one it is.
Okay, so Dying Earth, Eyes of the Overworld,
Okay, then
Saga, and then Rialto the Marvelous. But you get introduced to these characters in the Dying Earth.
Not Cuggle.
I don't care. Whatever order you guys want to read him in, Jack Vance is fun to read. I did his whole Planet of Adventure, which is like multiple novels.
The other point is when you get Jack Vance, when all these people whine about High Gygaxian, it's like, no, he's writing like Jack Vance did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he made up like half a dozen words, if not a full dozen words.
I'll say this
much never existed before.
Well, some of them is he uses that very high language. So in certain cases, I was just like, let me make sure that I have a dictionary so I get the full impact of it.
It's a fun read.
Good vocabulary.
It is a fun read. All of them are a really fun read. But this is on DK. If you'd rather skip the first one, I don't have a problem with that because it doesn't connect.
I mean, I'll be honest. I had mentioned doing the Dying Earth myself. So.
I need to read the Dying Earth. I'm trying to find audiobooks for it. So TCG, if you don't mind, send as much as you can to me on the Discord. I will listen to them.
I found. I think. Let's see here.
There's like a playlist. There's like a playlist of all the short stories that make up the Dying Earth.
Yeah, exactly. I think.
So the Dying Earth was.
Thank you.
Was 1950, and then
it's 25 little videos.
And then Eyes of the Overworld was 1966.
Yeah, I'm just checking to see if they're all still here.
Sweet. Thanks, Dragon.
Yeah.
And then Cuggle Saga was 1983, and then Rialto the Marvelous was 1984.
Right.
So,
yeah, Jack Vance writes some good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people recommend him to me. I just couldn't find anything. I'm looking forward to this. I've been meaning to.
Okay, so we'll post the one we're all supposed to read. But if anybody over the course of the next 2 weeks wants to deep dive into Vance, I highly recommend it. I personally just read Jack Vance for the first time last year. I have it in my collection for decades. And
no way!
I got it because it was on the Appendix N, and I saw it. And I literally have like a 1950s version of the paperback, and I'm like, this is going to be crap. I'll read it some other time. And then I was going through the appendix and I'm like, what haven't I read? And I'm like, oh, hey, I got this. I'll read it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. He's just such a goofball. It just.
Well, and part of the Dying Earth is it explains on why he was using the Vancian magic too.
The system,
right.
Yeah.
So
Fire and forget.
An awesome discussion. Go ahead, TCG.
Oh, I just put the first video, which is linked to the full playlist in the
Thanks, man.
There appears to be four videos missing from that playlist, so we'll have to work around that when we get to it.
Fair enough.
I'll see what I can find on Hulu and stuff.
Please do.
Believe it or not, none of that it would have been my first suggestion, which is awesome because I get to go after TCG because I think everybody has picked one, correct?
No, I was going to pick one, but you got TCG, so. Which
okay. Well,
no. TCG was picked Jack Vance, which is the one I was going to pick.
Okay, that gives you. Okay, cool. You pick something that next month you can pick something. Omen, sorry, I thought you'd pick something.
Or Jack Vance.
No. Okay. It's good that he picked it. It's because I wanted to get on the Dying Earth itself because I think that's a good introduction to understanding some of the world and the magic and stuff that they use in D&D.
Absolutely,
the language. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
We should do that Edgar Rice Burroughs book on Mars, where he's going through all the.
Not the Mars one. The Venus ones is the one that he was recommending. If you read the Appendix N, he's talking about the that is the Venus. I'm not even sure when the Venus ones came out.
I'll have to go look.
Yeah, because I read all the Mars stuff, but there's that.
I just finished almost all of the Venus stuff. It's not as good, but it is as well. I'm not going to say it's not as good. It's very, they're so similar as to make it. If you're only going to read one, read Mars. But if you have the opportunity to read them all, definitely read the Venus saga, the Carson Napier.
I just remember there was one book where the out of the Mars series that was definitely a dungeon crawl.
And I've yet to read his Pellucidar series, but I'll get to that. But I gotta say goodnight here in a second because I gotta use the little DM's room. But thanks everybody. Justin, you wanted to say something before we hit the road?
One thing. Are we still using the group chat or just the thing in your Discord?
Whatever.
Okay.
I would use the group chat unless sometimes I can't find the group chat, which is weird.
It's in your friends list. You have to.
No, I know how to do that, but sometimes I just can't find it because I could swear they changed the order of the names of the people.
Yeah, I go by the image I put. That's why I put a specific image on it.
The weird
sword with the book.
Yeah.
How do you have the sorting set up in your Discord? I have mine set up so it's most active is on top. So the chat.
That's probably why he keeps losing it.
Yes, Dragon. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks, man.
Hang out more, man.
Thanks.
One of these days we'll have you on.
You know what? Since I haven't read them, since you're going to be picking one of the Dying Earth books, their TCG, I'll pick Fod and the Grave Mouser.
You bastard!
Oh,
well, it doesn't matter.
That was going to be my pick. That was literally going to be my pick, but that's cool. That's cool. It just means we're on the same wavelength.
We keep picking each other's books.
That's awesome.
Well, what is
That's awesome.
We have a pretty good chance of picking each other's books.
That is true.
Well, just wait till we get week 50 or so. It's like, oh crap, it's the only book left. Oh, I don't want to read this shit. And then we'll
it's all Return of the King, damn it, because that's the only one I want to read.
Someone more competent than me needs to create a checklist that we can put in a document.
A spreadsheet or something like that. Yeah. We'll even go one better. We'll go by author, and then we'll have the books, as well. I think that'd be kind of funny.
Well, here's the thing, though, and I think that, which is kind of sad, as much as people knock DCC for being woke and stuff, DCC is the only one that seems to actually call back on their webpage all of these old authors like Clark Ashton Smith and Roger Zelazny. I just saw that they did a thing with Roger Zelazny last month or so.
Nice.
Well, no, I mean, all of these modern game companies want to throw the old
shit under the bus.
These old authors under the bus, and they're going, no, you guys should read this. These are great books to do your dungeon, crawl with. And instead of it becoming, you guys should only read Harry Potter and only Harry Potter and nothing else.
Maybe Lord of the Rings, but even then,
Harry Potter's still written. Don't you know it's written by a TERF? So.
Well, my whole point is Harry Potter is what the 5th edition for the newer players have grown up on.
Yeah, because of cantrips and stuff, and
they don't do the callbacks. They don't do the callback to the old stuff in there.
What's the rewrite of the Greek myths? The Lightning Thief.
Jersey Joe. As an avid reader of Greek myths, that franchise offends me.
Well,
yes, it should. I think it was meant to offend exactly you and people like you.
But that's
so
what
feel
all the middle
honored.
school kids are reading.
But I mean, okay. They even mentioned that there's Appendix E for inspirational reading, but no one reads. It's not like they did the big callbacks like they used to.
They don't read the Dungeon Master's Guide, so they're not going to see the inspirational material. So.
It even says it's in the Player's Handbook for 5e.
Oh, is it?
But here's it's page 314. But what gets me about it is WotC's not doing the callbacks to all of these ones either. Who's doing Lankmar? DCC. Who's doing Dying Earth? I think that's DCC. Or I'm sorry, the what is the Empire or whatever. Yeah, no, they did the Dying Earth. They did another one there. You know, it's
why would a corporation ever want you to be innovative and read other cool stuff?
What's that?
Isn't Goodman Games
doing
Dying Earth?
Yeah.
They are, yeah.
That's DCC. That's my point. But why are they doing it? Why isn't these bigger companies doing callbacks to all this stuff? You know, look, you've got. Hey guys, I mean, Free League is doing, of course, a lot of the IP stuff.
They're Barbie girls in a Barbie world, honey.
Yeah, because they don't want you to be thinking about cool shit anymore. Because then you might start.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Just for you, RPG Grandma, because I know you remember this, which is, this is the first time I've ever felt represented in playing a D&D game. I went, there was something called Oriental Adventures, and you're Japanese. You know,
I know.
And she wasn't even playing it like.
Oh, and then she want to play a blonde paladin. What the hell? You know.
So the truth comes out. There was some what is it? Cultural appropriation. Appropriate my culture. Okay, I see how she is.
Well, it's you know what though.
Have you guys figured out what orcs are? Yes, I think I have.
For what, dwarves?
Orcs. Over at Wizards of the Coast department that clearly put out a list that said all these things must be in the player's handbook and the art. They clearly have a list if you go through the art. So for orcs, based on all the stuff that's been said about them, orcs represent any minority group. Period.
Well, here's what gets me at the end of the day. No, it doesn't matter. If you're going to do art, could you do good art? I really hate this campy style.
No, we need to make just on the dwarf picture
make
alone.
Art great again. That's all I'm asking.
Yes. Just make art good. Can we please stop with the
magical oven mitts, magical Birkenstocks?
Hey, wait a minute.
Magical patchouli.
Cookie sheet.
Can we at least stop with the stupid like light blues and pinks, like the what diversity and dragons call the bisexual colors? Can we at least stop with that color?
Stroner actually coined that phrase years ago, but he's not wrong.
Can we just stop with that color palette? It's just disgusting. It's a disgusting color palette, and I hate it. How about some oranges and some like sharp greens? Some blood red.
Made out of some other material.
Hey, I was just talking to.
That's really not a regular cat down there.
Just make it all black and white. Just make it all black.
Yes. Oh my God! Go back to the old black and white art.
No.
But only so Shadow can pull his box of crayons.
Go to.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. If you've seen some of my old books, I did. I've got books that are worth a fortune, and I colored them in with color pencils, and.
Only Shadow says, "Well, how much are these books worth?" I'm like, "They're worth.
They're precious.
They're mine.
Yeah,
I have marked it just like peeing on a fire hydrant. It's mine now."
Yeah, you know what, Owen? Unironically, I would actually buy them for near enough to the same price as some of them what they're worth now. Unironically, because you have a history in those books now, and that's infinitely cooler.
Yep.
As long as all the books have all the pages in them, I don't really care because I can look at that and say, "Oh, like my friend Shadow did that. That's cool. That's a history. That means the book is unique, and I think that's cool."
My player's handbook can almost be rolled into a tube. It's so old, and it will get buried with me. It'll probably be instead of a pillow, instead of my family paying for an expensive pillow, just put the player's handbook.
Just put. Oh God, I could just imagine me being buried with my Amber books and just like behind my head, just like.
Well, WotC's just doing what everybody else has been told to do in the big corporate world, and it's failing.
This is why Hasbro. I'm sorry, Monopoly Go is their number one.
Thingamajig.
It's their number one revenue generator. But, it's not that I mind line art. I don't mind good line art. It's just, I'll be honest. The Monster Manual had a lot of crappy line art, but the theme folio, I thought is when they really were doing very good for a lot of line art. Because open that book still gives me some creepy feelings. when you look at the how the line art is
good
done.
line art. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I like? There's an example of good black and white art. Like I read White Box Fantastic Medieval Adventure Game. What I love about that game is that the art is all done by the same artist. Apart from the cover art and the character sheet, it's all by the same guy. And I like the consistency of it.
You get coherence of style.
Yes.
Well, that's why you're supposed to have an art director. The art director is supposed to make sure that it keeps it the same.
You can do that, but you also have artists that you need to have artists that are capable of doing the same style as well.
Or if you're going to do it, it's like they used to do. Is if you're going to do the different artwork.
It's an app game.
Wait. If you're going to do it, the whole point is that if you're going to do orcs, you have the same artist do all orcs. You have the same artist do all dwarves, and
all
that way
elves.
each one feels unique. Yeah. That way the art style matches. That way, just by the art style, you know where you are.
Well, consistency. Just make it consistent. And don't go changing how the the fact in the player's handbook, there's 3 different variations on either halflings or the gnomes. Like they all look different. The only consistency about them is that they're inverted, as the Spoony one would have said, they're inverted triangular abominations with teeny tiny little feet and big, bulbous, grotesque-looking heads. Like, why? That's not a halfling. That's not a hobbit. Why are you making them look like that? It's disgusting. Get it out of my face.
Yeah, Monopoly Go made over $1 billion for Hasbro.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Pokemon Go. They got their little phone and they're going around collecting all their Monopoly stuff, and they're playing against each other.
No. You're not even playing against each other. You just roll dice and just move your little figure around.
Right.
That's about it. It's like, why am I going to play a game where I don't really even have any control over it?
And you can pay. You can pay for things. Like it's got a lot of in-gap.
I got some
purchases.
free mindless games on here that when I'm in the mood.
This is why I look over and
it's called Tetris.
Yeah, I want to play a game where I can kind of create my own thing and do my own way. But anyway, I don't think that needs to go pee, and since he's
he went. That's why his thing was down.
No, he didn't.
Well, that's a lie.
No, I just came downstairs to have a smoke.
Could you tell me the jaundice dies?
In moving, some of the fluids move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should wrap up. But precisely what Vance story are we reading? Because is it the first one on the list that TCG gave us, or because that one's got like some weird name? It's not Dying Earth.
The Dying Earth. Yeah, the first story is like 100 pages.
I've got the book, so I can help clarify what's what.
Just send that my way, because I don't want to get 6 hours into the wrong book or whatever.
Yeah, like me, I was listening to today's book, and I finished with 30 seconds to spare before the show. So yeah, let's
half hour for me, and that's only because I put the thing on double speed.
I should have done that. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I get used to it. I'm used to it. So,
but we'll get back to you guys out there in TV land with what we're watching through Discord or something, and I'll try to put schedule the video a little bit sooner so people can have a little bit more time, like I did with the last Arduin video. So you guys can follow along if you're so inclined, because Jack Vance is one of the classics, and I kick myself when I think about how long I put it off. You guys all enjoy it, I hope.
Better late than never. You were just saving the best for last.
We're nowhere near the done. We're nowhere near done.
I mean, I didn't read a lot of the Appendix until the last 5 years. I mean, that's the sad stuff.
There's a lot I haven't read.
Yeah.
There's
Same
some
here.
I've read.
There's a ton of Conan I need to read.
I've only read, I think, 11 out of the 28.
Okay, but
I've been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
So.
Next time I'm picking another Conan, and we're only doing one this time. I don't care if it's only 3 pages or whatever.
No,
we spent 2 hours talking about 3 pages last time, and then spent 20 minutes talking about an 11-page story.
Was getting through the Spider God and I got like halfway through it. Like I enjoyed it, but like the amount of over description in that was like,
yeah, it dragged.
It dragged like a chicken around my neck.
Wait a minute, guys.
Conan, so
here's the thing: can we stop picking? Can we stop picking things that are 6 hours long?
Yes.
Maybe go to 2 to 3
We'll
hours.
try. We'll try. Yeah. The one you picked. It's considerably thicker than most of the books we've read, but it's a good one. It's really good. And don't think the Swords and Deviltry.
I haven't picked anything yet. I thought
you were going to pick Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser.
I will, but I'll have to go look at what the very first one is and put it up there.
That is Swords and Deviltry.
Okay.
Chronologically, or as release date? Because I think the first one was what's his name was still in his village.
I am trying to pick the ones by chronological because
I'm pretty sure the Swords and Deviltry starts with Fafhrd in his village, and then the next story in that book is the Grey Mouser, and the third book or the third story in that book is when they meet, and it is it is classic.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say goodnight, folks, because now I really can't hold it any longer. Thanks.
Bye.
Party on, everyone.
Thanks for the updates, Raven. I will see all of you guys real soon, and I'm going to leave you with this. I think I could have written a better Conan and the Spider God. Just saying.
No.
I hadn't read it. I
this time next year, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's high praise, buddy.
I was highly disappointed.
No. But we did get the author out of the way. So.
That's true.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.